There we are. Okay, welcome to the June 18th, 2024 Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District meeting. And I'm calling this meeting to order and start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Burnett, can you let us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our next item on the agenda is public comment. And if anyone wishes to address the Board of Managers, you can do so at this time. But I don't see anybody in the audience who wants to address this. So we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. And are there any additions, corrections, deletions from staff? Any additions, corrections, deletions from the board? Then I'd be looking for a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Motion by Manager Burnett. Second. A second by Manager Tofanelli. All in favor of the motion say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Okay, so we're going to move right along to our other old and new business and programs and project update by staff.
All right, so we're going to start off with our usual lake level graphing. Prior Lake has gone up 1.61 feet since our May board meeting. The lake is at 901.41 and rising. So this is a continued trend of this wet spring that we've had. We are all the way out of a drought and likely in a little bit of a surplus given our flooding river systems. Spring Lake is at 911.65. That's a jump of about 3/4 of a foot since last month, and currently outletting at a very rapid rate. So we're expecting Prior Lake to rise up to that outlet structure level of 902.5 sometime in the next couple weeks. So we're expecting it to reach that outletting level. Our monitoring and research department is busy collecting stream flow measurements and biweekly stream water quality monitoring. Our ferric chloride operations of the last month, we had the tank filled. The system is continuously running right now at maximum capacity. Our team with EOR conducted a bathymetric survey of the Geis wetland. We were looking for sedimentation rates within that wetland. And EOR conducted the second set of jar testing for our ferric chloride system assessment.
Jeff, I have a question. On the Geis wetland, do we at some point have to excavate? I think we did excavate it way back when, right?
President Loney, yeah, 1998.
At some point, would we have to excavate that again because of the sediment load?
This is in anticipation of future excavations.
Okay, so that's why you're monitoring this and see how it goes. Okay, great.
Yep. Monitoring has occurred roughly every 5 or 7 years, and it's getting to that point where we're likely looking at a recommendation in the near future. Manager Markberg.
Yes, for the flow at the iron chloride plant, how much is overflowing, so not going through the application of iron chloride? Currently, is it like 10% or 50%, or do we know?
Manager Markberg, it is bypass. The system is bypassing right now. I can't tell you a rate, but I can bring that forward to next month's meeting to give you a percentage of what sort of bypass occurred in June. So I do know it's bypassing, but not definitive numbers right now.
One question I was thinking of is would it ever make sense to put an iron chloride filter at the outlet of the desiltation pond? So it's just a thought I had, and we could think about that. So not to be answered now, it's just a question.
All right, thank you.
Wow, look at those guys.
Our carp management program's been very busy in early June. We continued our mark and recapture study on Upper Prior Lake. A total of 694 carp have been marked. So that concluded the marking section of the study. The recapture segment has started, and our recapture rates are looking good. And this is what we wanted to verify, that all the removal effort that we have conducted over the last 7, 8, 9 years has been effective, has been worthwhile, and that we're at population levels that we feel that are meeting goals. So after we've completed the recapture, we'll have a definitive population estimate to say that we've transitioned phases in the program. The moving picture on the right is at the Fremont Barrier on Upper Prior Lake, coming out of, it's a channel where water flows from Arctic Lake into Mud Bay, Crystal Bay area. And it's a really conducive spot for removing carp. We've also conducted removal on Spring Lake when time allows.
Okay, moving right along into projects here. Got a lot of great updates in the past month, so I'll touch on some of the high points and a low point as well. The first really exciting news is that we secured an easement for the Swamp Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter in the last month, and so the district now has the ability to utilize the area that we would need for the project as at our discretion. So that is easement, a permanent easement. We also, in the last month, got some money allocated towards the project from the outside watershed-based implementation funding that's coming through Bowser. So close to $180,000 allocated in that funding source. And then Spring Lake Township was kind enough to contribute $2,000 as well to move forward efforts to benefit Spring Lake. So that's really exciting. We have some momentum there, and we plan on applying for an additional Clean Water Fund grant that'll be due in August. So we're hoping to keep that rolling and get as much funding as possible so that we would move forward with design in this winter, fall, and then construction next year if possible. And then here is just in the map, I've kind of highlighted the path of where the water that's filtered through that sand filter goes. So it's going through the County Ditch 13 system and then ending up in Spring Lake. And then I've also included a schematic of an iron enhanced sand filter just as a reminder of how it works. Untreated water gets funneled into the sand pit, if you will, and then it filters downwards through the medium and then leaves the filter nice and clean. So really excited about moving that forward to implementation. Another area that we've had some really exciting progress in is in the Fish Lake area, where we discussed focus on external load management in this year. In the center of the screen is one side of a pamphlet sent out to Fish Lake residents, and it's meant to kind of touch on all of the areas that their neighbors are contributing to change and better practices. So these are projects that the district chose to move forward in this first priority round. So you can see we're working with farmers to utilize existing nutrients that are in their soil those hot spots, kind of bring those down. We're also working with landowners in cleaning out some old cattle ponds. They've got some really nutrient-laden soil there. We have $30,000 of WBIF grant funds that will help support that project. And if not that project, we can apply it to any of the other ones too. That is a flexible spending in the Fish Lake area. As well as we're looking at evaluating the stormwater drainage in the Lake Ridge development that was developed in '91, and we're looking at potential malfunctioning there. So Spring Lake Township also kindly designated $7,500 to support that study, and that would occur within the next year. And as I mentioned, this is a pamphlet to landowners to help encourage them to restore or stabilize their shoreline. So we'll be doing a shoreline workshop on July 18th. Money that's designated for the Fish Lake area. We have a little bit of a extra pool for shoreline restoration projects in this area as part of our kind of multi-prong approach to address external loading. So if we completed all these proposed projects, we would have an estimated reduction of 36 pounds a year. So if we can do that in 1 year, that's pretty impressive for I would be proud of that. The overall watershed reduction goal is 3 pounds, so making a good dent. We're also making really good progress on the Buck Stream Stabilization Project. We're reviewing the final design. You'll see an authorization to bid or go out for RFQ after the joint board and CAC meeting, which is next Thursday. And the project will move pretty quickly from there. We're doing construction late summer, early fall, and the project has to be certified complete by the end of the year so we can utilize clean water funds. So it'll be a really great project to see enacted. You'll get to see that on the tour next Thursday as well, so you'll get a before. And if you have any questions, Mike Majeski has been instrumental in that project, so we get extra expertise here. And then the sad note from last month is that we're notified we were not selected to move on for one of our funding applications for our Prior Lake Outlet Pipeline project. The Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources was not ultimately a fit for this project. We do still have one application still pending, the MPCA Stormwater Implementation Grant. We will find out by July 11th, so by next meeting, we'll know. I'm hopeful. I will say that I would say our odds are the highest, if I had to guess, out of all of those three in this one. So I'm hopeful. Cross your fingers in the next couple of weeks. If we were successful in awarding that, we would be responsible for at least a 10% match of the total project funds. And then obviously if we're unsuccessful, we'll have to figure out how we move forward with funding the project.
Emily, on that grant, what is the maximum we could, I mean, I know our project's about $1 million. Would they consider up to $1 million, or what is their cap?
We applied for the maximum. Our project would fit within their cap. So
Okay.
we have about a $950,000 remaining project costs. So we have applied for 870 some. We present 90% of
Okay.
the remaining costs. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And then this is just showing in a visual form what our timeline will look like depending on what our funding source ends up being. So you can see the MPCA Stormwater Grant is highlighted here because that's our hopeful. That is the best option to construct in 2024, 2025, and then look at other options if that does not pan out. Does anyone have any questions on projects?
Any questions, board members? I just want to say one thing for the viewing public. If you want to know everything that's going on in our programs and projects, go on the website and look at all these different things. I mean, you just gave us a few things of what staff is working on, but you can see quite a bit of more information on projects and programs, Citizen Advisory Committee, education, monitoring, all the things. So it gives I think it gives a better outlook if somebody's really interested in what's going on in the watershed. You can look at all these things, and you can see it on the website. So websites, is that a good segue? I think we're going to go to Patty here, and we're going to have a draft website review.
Exactly. So I'm Patty Dronin. I'm the administrator for I'm not the administrator, I'm the administrative assistant for the watershed. And as you remember, in 2022, we had a lot of discussion about the district's website and how outdated it was. It made it difficult for us to maintain, and then for public to really even find any information, because there was so much information on the website. So in our 2023 budget, we included funds to retain a consultant to assist in us refreshing the website in appearance and ease of use for all of us. So due to the consultant availability, which was a little later in 2023, the work to refresh didn't start until the fall. But we are there, and I'd say we are ahead of schedule, or where we thought we would be. I think we originally thought we would want to roll this out in about August, but I think we're going to be about a month earlier than that. So I apologize for any board managers that were not able to look at the website, but I'm going to walk through everything today. So this is our homepage, and what I love about it is we can change this picture however we want. We can make it a static picture, we can make it a video, anything we really want. So it'll be really fun to update that as we can. We wanted to make viewing lake levels real easy for everybody. So basically they click on this, and then we'll go to the hydromet charts for Prior Lake, Spring Lake, and Fish Lake, and Pike Lake, and so it's super easy for them to use. Down below, we always think people if they want to have a little fun, where are you located in the watershed? You can put your address in, and it'll take you to right where you are. So even if you put something that's outside of it, it's going to tell you which watershed or which area you might be in. So just a little fun for people to have. A little later, a little further down on the page, we have latest news. This is where we anticipate we're going to be changing this a lot. And you'll notice in the upper left corner of each of the news stories, except for the Sandpoint boat ramp story, like on the Watershed Week, community education. What that does, if you click on that, that'll take you to another community education area where you can learn. It's related content to that. So it's taking us to look at maybe lake-friendly farm program brochure, turf grass tips. They've all been noted that it's community education, and so it's all related content. Anytime we put anything in, it gives us a bunch of options that we can put in. If it just is one lake, say it's just Spring Lake, we just press that, and then in the upper court, you would see that it's related to Spring Lake only, and if you press that, then you're going to go to any other Spring Lake related content. We have our upcoming events, so we'll keep this really current with any meetings that we have or anything that we're doing. And then this is just because people are so interested in our CARP program, we're just putting it as informational on this page about our CARP management program. Then under each of the headings, under the About section, district overview just gives an overview of the district with videos, super easy for people to find information. Our goals, what are our goals? What do we want people to know about us? What are we doing? We have our updated water resources management plan, and we even have the most up-to-date one on here already. Latest reports. So this can get pretty extensive, but you can see here, this is a really good example where you can see, I want to see the audit from 2021. Well, press on annual audits, and there's that information. So it's really easy to find pertinent information. And then, of course, we want to highlight our partners. All of them are linked so that people can go directly to their sites. Then we have our board of managers. Again, gives you board information. And this is kind of a fun thing. So if we want to look at old meeting materials, it's all right there. So tomorrow, when I put our meeting recording on for this meeting on the website, I will do it, and then it'll just automatically populate and be right there. And so everything you can find is right there, super easy to find. And we have our staff, always interesting. We're going to take pictures so they're more consistent with what we have for our other groups. Our Citizens Advisory Committee, a lot of information about that and who they are. Really want to spotlight them. Gives people the option to join if they'd like. And then any employment opportunities, of which we don't have any right now. This is a page I think is kind of interesting, what people will like. We really wanted to spotlight the beauty of our lakes, so we're dividing it by Tier 1, 2, and 3 lakes. And then at our certain ones, we have the details about the lake, so it's really easy to find information about that. Click on that, you can see a little bigger. And then again, related resources. So we've got the report cards for Lower Pryor, aquatic vegetation as it relates to Upper and Lower Pryor, and then any other documents about that. So Pryor Lake is probably going to be where there's the most information. And then down below, this area isn't quite finished yet, but we're going to make it look like the tiers do, but with the Pryor Lake channel, with a picture, and then details about the outlet. So projects, we're excited that we're going to start adding more pertinent, more up-to-date, I should say, not pertinent, but more up-to-date projects, and it's kind of fun. What we're doing is, with this map, you can click on, you can see on the left side, there's 3 different project types. There's one that deals with flood reduction, one with water quality, and one with flood reduction and water quality. So if you go to the map, let's look at this one that deals with flood reduction and water quality, and that's the County Road 1217 wetland restoration. Under the Learn More, it's going back to our old website, so we want to update this so it looks, you know, as nice as the rest of our website does. We're going back to our old site, so, but it's as easy as that. On the Upper Pryor Lake treatment, people can just get a lot more information about our projects, what we're doing right now. Is it complete? Is it underway? When was it completed? That. And the out panel, we're not 100% sure about this placement here, so we won't go into that. But then our programs that people are interested in, just a really nice way to look at our different programs in a much more visually appealing kind of way. I don't think people will get confused about where they can find information. So all of those 6 programs are all right here too. In our Learn section, our document library, this is kind of fun. When you want to look something up, on the right side here, you can choose by water body, you can choose by document type, and then you can choose what type of a document it is. So if you want to look at Lower Pryor, invasive species, Of course, nothing comes up to the one I choose, but if there were a document just with that subject in mind, then that would come up there. So it's kind of fun to play around with that. Maps, we've got a number of different dealing with our district. So those are all easy to find and find information about. Workshops and education. That's where we keep information up to date on those things. We have its own that has its own calendar, so we'll add, and I believe I added Watershed Week. I did not, but that is on the main calendar. And then topics that our public would be interested in: boating, shoreline, home and yard, and then agriculture. So they can go to any of these, learn more, find resources. Again, they can look up documents, they can look on maps, see what's going on in workshops and education. And then we give people an opportunity to get involved in different ways that they can do that. Again, super easy to find. So that's the new site, and I'm wondering what you all think. I would love to hear comments.
Well, the one thing I heard, I thought you were saying it's much easier to put in new material than the old site, which is a real benefit.
Yeah. I mean,
You
we have all been editing.
Yeah, anybody can put
Yep.
stuff in there.
We already did, Emily and Danielle and I did about an hour-and-a-half training with our consultant that put the site together. And then Jeff and Zach have been doing stuff, so easy enough for them to go in and do the same thing, so.
Looks exciting to me. Any other thoughts or comments? Frank?
Is this kind of an effort that's never done? Because you're always trying to update material in there, keep it up to date, rather than looking behind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just a perfect example is there was good information on our site, and when she built the site, she kind of pulled some of that over, but just going through some of those links, it's like, oh, that's our old logo. Let's update that, just so it's all consistent. You know, it's still good information. It just needed our logo to look a little more refreshed, so.
Site looks great. Great job. Isn't it typical, once a site is built like that you try and get it tied into other sites like the cities or other sites where there's a lot of different people who are accessing that site and, oh, hey, look at this, watershed.
Sure.
Is that common?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, any of our partners, I'm hoping that they, just like we put their information on our site, that they would do the same on their sites. So.
Thank you. Good job.
Manager Tofinelli, I think you wanted to say something?
How are we looking at this to see what people are looking at on the site? Do we have metrics that we're reviewing to see where people are going? And
Yeah. Haven't done it yet because we're not live yet, but once it is, I mean, that would be really fun just to do, because our plan is we definitely want to roll it out. We want to let our public know, but we're also thinking it would be fun to do some kind of a website scavenger hunt too, where it gets just people looking at, find the XYZ on, you know, within the site and something like that. So it gets people in it and kind of noodling around. And I think maybe after a month and maybe after 6 months and after a year, see what the analytics are. And I think that would be really interesting, so.
I enjoyed a lot of the maps that you put in there and the locations and things you were showing, lake depths, and there was a lot of information in there to dig through, so it was very nicely done.
Manager Burnett?
Overall, I loved it. It was a good site. What kind of maintenance plan or arrangement do we have with the website company? I know we're hopefully going to do all the updates ourselves, but is there any are they going to review it in like 6 months or something once it goes live, or how's that work, and what's the plan moving forward on that?
I can't remember specifically what in our contract it says, but I know that would be easy enough for them to do. When we said we kind of waited based on the consultant's availability, she has done a number of other watershed websites, and so her knowledge of that was just absolutely key on pulling all this together. So I see where, we could talk to her and just say, have we messed anything up? If something's not working correctly and things like that. They've been very responsive and, just very helpful pulling it all together, so. Thank you.
Any other questions? There's some neat, fun facts of staff, I just want you to know. You got to go in there and see those fun facts. Patty and I have a connection now because of that fun fact, right? No? Okay. Are we done? Anything else? That's good. Okay, so we're going to move on to Water Resource Management Plan Goals. Program update discussion, and I believe Emily is taking this.
Okay, once that loads. So I've distributed a worksheet at each of your spots. The purpose of this progress update is kind of as a primer for our discussion at the joint board CAC meeting to look at what do we want to prioritize in this next year, where do we need more work, what ideas are missing, and to do that we need to know where we are. So CAC received a very similar version of this. It'll be a little quicker because you have more exposure to this material. But please feel free to slow me down. So to review, we've got 3 kind of guiding principles that come out of our water resources management plan. Everything we do fits within them. And the way we make a difference in water quality, aquatic invasive species, and flood mitigation is we have these different buckets of work. And so this is really the worksheet I left for you all. I'm going to walk through what we're doing in each of these buckets, and then the goals in our plan related to those, and how are we doing at meeting those goals. So you can take notes. I would encourage you taking notes as we go along, because you'll be able to take that to the joint meeting and have some background and already have some thoughts going. So the first kind of bucket of work is direct, improve water quality. So here's a really good example of how the district has been able to do that. This is Spring Lake, 2017, 2019, and 2022. So really big difference. This is also Spring Lake outlet. So the way that we get that water quality improvement is by removing and preventing excessive lake nutrients. You've been hearing all about this. You'll also see in this upper right corner for each of these lines, like improve water quality, well, that's focused on water quality, but you'll see a couple touch on multiple goals. So this was meant to introduce phosphorus as the big, bad, ugly monster to the CAC. We want to filter that out, and the way we can do that is through an iron-enhanced sand filter. Here's 2 pictures of those. I walked through those earlier today. We can also treat that phosphorus that's already in the lake through an alum treatment. So this is video of an alum treatment on Como Lake, I believe. We've done those in our own lakes as well. Okay. Here are some other examples of how we remove and then treat excessive lake nutrients. These are examples of things that directly are focused on improving water quality. Filtering, treating. So the goals focused on water quality, the first one is maintaining or improving some standards in Lower Prior Lake. A good point that Manager Morkenberg brought up in the CAC meeting is these benchmark measures, the goals we're trying to meet, are different for different lakes. So that's worth discussing in our future planning process. But right now, these are our goals for Lower Prior Lake. We're meeting the phosphorus goal and not meeting chlorophyll A and SECI depth, according to our latest 2-year period. When we look at our goals for Spring Lake, we're doing much better. But again, the benchmarks are different. So you'll have to note that. When we look at Upper Prior Lake, we're also doing well. So all within our thresholds that we'd like to be in. If we look at Fish Lake, we are not meeting our total phosphorus goal, but we are meeting chlorophyll A and SECI. Down here, there's another goal to implement projects that will reduce phosphorus. We're not meeting that yet, but now we have a plan and we're working on it. So I anticipate that thumb will be turned in the right direction shortly. We also have a goal to improve water quality in Arctic Lake. So far, our 2-year tracking shows that we're doing well at that, as well as monitoring in Pike Lake and improving that water quality. We say we want to improve a 10% improvement. We are not meeting that goal in neither west side or east side of Pike Lake. So that was the first line, improve water quality. So please stop me as I go along. The next kind of bucket that we do work in is restoring wetlands and natural habitats. You can see that would produce a water quality benefit and reduce flooding as well in some cases. So here on the left, that's a Buck East wetland we studied. On the right is the Buck Stream Stabilization Project area. See the bank sloughing off there. So in our related goals, one goal is no net loss of wetland. So far, we have not done a biennial permit or LGU review. We have also not created a wetland banking program or reserve fund. And we are slated to complete our first project, or our goal was to complete our first project by 2025. We don't have any currently identified. So this is definitely an area that, according to our goals, we are not meeting them. Another goal is to restore or enhance 5% of wetland, or a certain class of wetlands. And the milestones are to update the comprehensive water plan. We are planning on doing that. We have not done it yet, but it is in this year's budget. So it's just a matter of getting staff capacity allocated to that. We also have physical restoration milestones, a wetland restoration by 2025, etc. We've got a mild thumbs down on that one because we haven't reached those years, so we can't say we've failed yet, but we need to start thinking about them. We also, in this area, say that we'll stabilize a minimum of 10 bank erosion and slumping sites. So we've done pretty well in this goal. We completed 3 lined waterway projects, and we are planning to complete the Buck Stream Stabilization Project this year. So we are so far looking good to be on task with this goal. Moving on to the next bucket, control invasive species. On the left is a map of, I'm guessing, curly-leaf pondweed. Yep, got a nod. And on the right here, you can see a seining net of carp. So we control for invasive species, obviously, to control aquatic invasive species, but it also helps us accomplish our water quality goals by reducing sediment disturbance and encouraging native plant growth. So we do this through a bevy of ways: tracking, removing, tagging, and stocking fish that predate upon eggs, as well as inspecting boats for vegetation. The other invasive species that we look at, aside from carp, are zebra mussels, curly-leaf pondweed, Eurasian water milfoil, and Chinese mystery snail was identified last year. We've got a diversity of invasives. So when we're looking at our goals, we have a goal to create an AIS response plan. We have done that. We have reviewed it and implemented it in correspondence with our plan successfully. We also say that we'll manage carp 100 kilograms per hectare or below. And so far, Lower Prior Lake seems to be meeting this threshold, below that threshold. Upper Prior Lake, we are doing studies this summer to confirm that we're below that threshold. It's looking good. And Spring Lake is not currently meeting that goal. Fish Lake, from what we know now, is, but we are monitoring to know more this year. We also have a goal to monitor curly-leaf pondweed growth and treat as needed. We are doing that, as well as implementing techniques for zebra mussels as they come about. So we are also doing that. Moving on to managing stormwater and preventing flooding. These are some pictures of the 2014 flood. We hope to never get there again. Some ways we manage flooding is looking at projects that get water out faster and slow down the water from the top of the watershed all the way to the bottom, just to even out those peaks of storms. So we've got the Prior Lake outlet channel on the left here and the Sutton Lake outlet that both accomplish each of those goals. Some projects we're looking at doing there to make each of those more efficient. We're looking at lining the pipe of the Prior Lake outlet channel. And then we're looking at several storage projects in the upper watershed that'll help that slow down of the system. So when we look at our goals, we have achieved the first tier flood reduction goal, which was to get Prior Lake from 905.6 to 905.5 in the 25-year return period. We also are continuing to operate the Prior Lake outlet structure, and we continue to improve the stability of the Prior Lake outlet channel. So we're doing pretty well on those goals. Obviously, those goals don't encompass all of the flood reduction work, like doesn't talk about upper watershed storage, so that's something to note. Next section is community engagement and education. Here's a whole bunch of pictures of all sorts of ways we engage people. These contribute to all three of our primary focuses. People who are aware are better stewards of water quality. They're better advocates for flood reduction processes and willing to engage, and same with aquatic invasive species. We also work with residents to do cost share projects that actively make bigger changes on the ground rather than just knowing about it, making it action. So you'll see some of these projects in the tour next week, but eroded waterway here has been restored. We also get community engaged through carp espionage. They help us know where carp are, and that just gets people aware of that process. So that's community engagement and education. Monitoring water bodies also touches on all three of those primary goals. This is a less apparent bucket of work to making progress toward our goals, but is essential. For example, on this upper graph that shows the phosphorus at the bottom and top of a lake, that tells us when we need to do an alum treatment. You can see this aerial photo from Pike Lake. Monitoring samples there tell us what's happening in each of those lobes. And then we're all familiar with this raising lake level. That is the only way we know how to manage reducing floods. So monitoring is really important for supporting all of our on-the-ground actions. And the goals that we have aligned with that are assessing the quality of Sutton Lake. We did develop a lake management plan, and we continue to manage the outlet, so we're meeting that goal. We said we would assign a water quality standard to Buck Lake. We have not done a diagnostic study or assigned a water quality standard, but we are monitoring Buck Lake, so we're doing okay in the works of meeting that goal, I guess. We also said that we would assess the quality of Tier 3 lakes. So we are figuring out ways to monitor those lakes. They can be hard to access. Right now, we have only been successful in designating a grade for Kate's Lake. Staff is working on improving that, but right now we are not meeting that. Another kind of line item here that touches on all of our primary goals is supporting planning and administration. Not the most pizzazz part of the job, but without planning, we cannot make good implementation. So 2 quick examples are the map on the left. That was an upper watershed blueprint in 2021. It is still informing projects that we are selecting today. We also work with other partners to develop this cost share manual, and that allows us to get projects all throughout the watershed district. Without planning, we wouldn't have been able to go through this exercise of selecting our most effective water quality projects and telling ourselves, well, if we do those, we can reach 64% of our goals. So it really allows us to make really strategic decisions. Our goals aligned with planning are to participate in groundwater planning. We have not attended any groundwater planning meetings, which was a goal, but we have done groundwater protection and decommissioning wells. We also have a goal to understand flooding in the watershed through refinements to our model, and we are doing that. We said we would assess our progress on our flood reduction goals and establish an updated flood reduction goal. We have assessed our progress, and we have an interim goal, flood reduction goal. We still need to finalize that. Moving on, we've got maintain infrastructure and key facilities. So you can see pictures here of the ferric chloride tank. We've got the Prior Lake outlet structure and then the Prior Lake outlet channel. These are all pretty major features that the district manages. They obviously contribute to all of our goals, and even though they were built a while ago, we need to maintain them. There was no specific water resources management plan goals related to those, but they touch on all of them. And then lastly, the last line here is ensure regulatory compliance. These are some examples of things that could be reported, a spill or some erosion from construction the district needs to follow up on. So our goals related to that are to eliminate, reduce the impact of development. We have been assessing the permit program, and we did adopt revised rules related to that goal. So in summary, we're doing well. This planning period, which the goals are set on, was going from 2020 to 2030, so we're not even halfway. Water quality goals seems like we're on target or close, depending on the water body. There are some areas we should look at more. Groundwater and wetland protection seem to have a little bit less momentum in them. Our aquatic invasive species goals are on target, and flood reduction goals as well. So those goals are a summary in our water resources management plan, but obviously in budgeting, it would be interesting to see if there's other nuances within the 3 primary missions that we're attempting to get to. If there are ways we can improve our efforts. So That's all for me, if you have any questions.
Any questions, board members? I might have one. Is this something you're going to introduce or go through at the joint meeting too, or no?
No, they received it at the last
They did
CAC
receive
meeting.
that?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, okay, very good. And then, I think, like you said, that this is a for future board discussions and how it might affect future budgets.
Yep, it'll be a primer for the joint meeting. So if, we'll be working from similar language here.
So our report card is a B plus or B minus? Looks like we're doing okay, but,
Yeah, I'd say we're an average student.
yeah.
With great,
Does this report go to Bowser or anything like that?
the annual report does get sent to Bowser
Okay.
and DNR annually.
Okay. Questions? Manager Morkenberg.
Yes, first of all, I think it's an excellent way of visualizing what we are working with, so good job. It's not easy to take very complicated things and put it up so people can understand it in a short amount of time. So good job doing that. I would say we're probably doing better than a B plus in the sense that if you look at some of the major lakes that we have worked with, have had significant water improvements. So if you talk to people that live on the lakes, they very much appreciate the benefits of the work. That doesn't mean that we stop there, because if we stop now and don't keep going, it can go backwards. So, but I think it's very well done. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're moving on to the treasurer's report. So Manager Morkenberg, you're still up.
Thank you very much. So the June 2024 financial report, basically some of the budget amendments that we approved at the May meeting are reflected in the report. And in general, the expenditures are tracking with what we would expect at this point in the year. There's a few items that are at 100%, and those will be things like the audit, which has been completed past it. As a rule of thumb, the district likes to have about 50% cash available, at the end of May, our available cash was right at the 50th percentile, at 50%. But today I was informed that we received the first half of the property tax distribution from Scott County, and that will replenish the district cash. And when you look at the cash flow statement, you can see that it indicates the predictions that there will be adequate cash available for the remainder of the year. The cost analysis, which is the last handout you got, that again is an alternate approach of summarizing the district's expenditures, and so far they are consistent with the district activities. Any questions?
Any questions from board managers? It looks good. And we got you said the first half today?
Yep.
Or
Yesterday.
was it, okay? Was it about $1 million or whatever it was?
It was,
President Loney, it was just a little shy of $1 million. It was actually 38,000 less than what we had projected, but still, close to $1 million.
All right. Very good. So with no other questions, the treasury report is we're fairly in good shape. Consent agenda is consider of one item of business, and the items here are meeting minutes, May 21st, board workshop, meeting minutes, May 21st, board meeting minutes of March 28th, CAC meeting, claims list and purchase card summary, and sale of CARP and management program nets. Does anybody want to remove any item from the consent agenda? If not, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Moved by Manager Markenberg, second by Manager Burnett. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. And Manager Boyles, you're up now to update us on the upcoming meetings.
Thank you. All right. There are 4 items to announce, actually 5, right? It was a holiday, Juneteenth, and watershed offices along with city offices will be closed in recognition of that fact. We do have a joint board of managers and CAC tour and meeting coming up Thursday, June 27th. 3 to 5 for the tour and 5 to 7 for the meeting itself in the library large meeting room. That's a change, so library large meeting room. Board of Managers conduct its workshop Tuesday, July 16th, as usual, here at City Hall using the Parkview Conference Room. The actual meeting is in here, of course, council chambers, same date, Tuesday, 16, 6 p.m. And finally, the CAC meets Thursday, July 25th, 6 p.m. here again at City Hall, but downstairs in the Wagon Bridge Conference Room. That is all, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you, Manager Boyles. And with that, we're at the last item of adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Moved by Manager Tofinelli. I gotta force you guys to adjourn. Second. What? Second, Manager Burnett. Okay, all in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye. 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 Opposed? The motion carried unanimously, and we are out of here at 7:01. Thank you, everybody.